You have known to be a consultant with Ethel Technologies, but I also know you do some advocacy and you also have Women in Tech Africa. Yes. So what are you?
I'd like to think of myself as a digital transformation consultant. And in that, Ethel Technology Consulting works with businesses. Businesses will come to us and say, they said we should innovate, they say we should do digital. We don't even know where to start. We come in and do the groundwork and look at your processes end to end and beginning to figure out the places where you can leverage technology for digital, for growth. On the flip side, the foundation Women in Tech Africa, I started 10 plus years ago because there are very few women in the space, and I wanted us to leverage and just learn from each other. And it's gone from just being 70 women in Ghana to 5,000 women across 30 African countries. And we leverage that for digital advocacy and policy advocacy, especially with governments and pushing the digital agenda. And then the final hat I wear is I sit on a number of boards in insurance, in technology, and governance. Again, the work there is pushing the digital agenda for the growth of businesses.
It's funny because when you started in this space, you were one of the few women I had to interview. Now there are two of you on this panel. Is there a sense in which that's part of the evolution? Talk to me a bit about that.
Yes.
That it's not such a lonely place anymore.
No, so it used to be that I would have to go to 10 or 11 meetings to meet one woman. And now there are 2, 3 of us on panels. Sometimes there are whole panels of women. There are more girls going and taking computer science degrees. There are also more women that are doing sort of like maybe going to data science, cybersecurity. One of the things I'm seeing is a lot of women in cybersecurity. And so I think there's been a lot of work in just making the space attractive to young women. So we're beginning to see that come through the pipeline.
So in a way, final point here, I was 20 years, all right, so 2004 versus 2024. How has this changed? I don't know where you were in 2004. Were you even in school? Were you working? Were you?
I was in school.
You were in school.
Then I finished my degree in 2005.
Were you clear that you were going to work in technology?
Oh yes. Oh, yeah. I've been clear from when I was 18.
18.
My first programming course was when I was 18, and immediately I went through my first class. I was like, no, that's it, because I was going to go to university to do engineering, and then so my parents sent me off to these computer schools because you are in the house lounging around doing nothing. And after the first course, I told my father, I'm not going to go and do engineering anymore. I'm going to do computer science. A lot of people didn't understand it. They asked if I was going to be a teacher or that sort of thing. What has changed, and I suppose over the years, and maybe when we started, sometimes convincing companies that they needed digital solutions, it just couldn't fathom it. Yeah. And now there's more pull than push. There's more of the companies coming to us saying, hey, I think we can find digital spaces to make a difference, versus before where even just simple accounting software was hard to sell.
So in a sense, we've improved in 20 years.
Yes.
Because a lot of times when we have these panels, there's a lot of discussion around what is the problem. All right, but if we have done so well in 20 years, we have things to rejoice over and then things to improve as well. Plus, you did computer science, learning coding, and things. Did you know that you will be helping people make payments, pay DSTV, collect money from a bank? It's like what you were learning and you thought it was such a... Just talk to me a bit about how things have changed so much.
Right. No, I'll be honest with you. Actually, funny story, my father did. Because he used to bug me about, they can put money on the computer. And at the time, it didn't make sense to me what he was saying. But I didn't see it because I honestly didn't see how, because at the end, you know, if you're in the US or in the UK, you know there's credit card payments. And we were seeing for the transition to be from cash to card payments.
Yeah.
We didn't see that Africa was going to do the mobile money. And to be honest, because of M-Pesa in Kenya, which essentially, this is why we should fund research, which was essentially somebody's PhD research. And they said, what if we used, you know, the money was digital? Because what was happening, he would go to the matutus, the trotro, and people would go and send money to my mother in the village, right? So this person's PhD was, what could we do? And in that, he found a telco who said, let's experiment. That was successful. And then all of a sudden, the rest of us across Africa went, oh, but they have the same problems as we do. We can we can leverage on it. And we're grateful for telcos like MTN that were willing to put in the money to educate the populace, right? I mean, there's been, one of the things I think that's very interesting is we've always looked at the West for, our transitions are going to be like the West, but it hasn't been like that. Even with the mobile revolution, it was the same conversation of, from landlines, we don't even have landlines, how are we going to go to internet? And then when the right set of circumstances, which is cheap Nokia phones, liberalization of licenses, all those happened, all of a sudden we became a mobile-first continent. We are very interesting, the African continent, Ghana, we're a very interesting place for doing things differently because our problems are different, right? And so a lot of the digital solutions that you are finding is fixing the infrastructure problems that we have, right? It's bridging the gap in the infrastructure problems we have. So if we didn't have problems with internet, you wouldn't see mobile money happening because we were trying to fix those problems. That's how.
So for you, mobile money is an area where Africa genuinely is in the lead.
We are genuinely we are far in the lead.
So they have to come and learn it from us.
They have to come and learn it from us. Actually,
the statistics.
Yeah. So I think was it Albania or I think they hired the guy in Safaricom that used to run in Kenya that used to run mobile money to go into Albania and actually try
to show how it's done.
It's
the people who are digitally skilled and digitally literate. And I'm still with you, Ethel. Yes. How impressed are you with the people in Ghana's level of appreciation of digital technology as a populace and also as professionals in the field offering service to other countries?
Okay. So you're right, it's in two parts. Let me discuss the professional part. So the World Bank had a report out about 2-3 years ago. So Ghana carries about 7% of the development professionals in Africa. We actually have a large base.
7%?
Large base. So that is why between Ghana and Nigeria, in West Africa, a lot of the remote workers, the people that are hired here to work for dollar amounts that developers, 7% are sitting. We have a large amount of professionals, partly because of all these programs that were run, right? All these training, all these trying to get young men and young women all doing development. We have a good skill set. Now, do we need more? Of course, we need more if the economy is going big. Now, on the flip side, digital literacy, it's a big problem, right? So your average person does not have the full-length digital literacy you need to be able to perform simple tasks, partly because a large number of the phones people carry are young phones, dumb phones, non-smartphones, right? It is in experimenting with digital phones that you sort of figure out, hey, this is what you do online, right? And which is why one of the things I advocate for is the government to provide more services via digital channels to train the populace in digital literacy.
We'll come back to that point. I like what I'm hearing there. This is the Citi Business Festival 2024, and we're bringing you our roundtable discussion live on Channel 1 Television. My name is Ben Adavle. I have a fantastic panel. We're talking about the evolution of digital technology. Everybody is doing better 20 years now compared to the past. Ethel is telling us that even though we have great professionals in the digital space, we all need to be more digitally literate. We'll deal with more of that when we come back.
Yes.
Do we have the men when it comes to businesses?
Well, I think if you just look at the startup numbers, you'll find that so we're in the top 5 of almost everything. Top 5 of where countries that get the most investment in tech businesses.
Wow. We
are top 5 in sort of the companies that have the highest number of startups.
Okay.
So I think it's by virtue of the fact that we have a large number of professionals in the space. People are building digital business. Do we have enough? I don't think so. I think that if we're going to, GDP wise, we're going to grow and we're going to expand our economy, there's more that we're going to need to do. For instance, there's a problem with insurance is insurance penetration is 1% in the whole country. Now, how do we fix it? If we make insurance cheap and easy, and how's that going to happen? New business models with digital, right? And so there are different spaces I think that digital can go in and begin to enable and make happen. Just like your Instagram sellers, you know, before if you want something, somebody will recommend, now you can go search. There are issues there, but because of the, what do you call it, Instagram sellers, there's now businesses built where there's a escrow and verification, right? So there's escrow accounts. I buy from an Instagram seller, they pay into it, you pay into it. If I get my thing, then you get your money. All those little businesses are sprouting up because of the different digital models and digital economies. On
the databases side, and even on the connectivity side, before then, the creative guys doing the apps can be part of a broader e-commerce. So which of them jumps at you? Which of them do you think needs a bit more advocacy?
Right. I mean, it's a problem that's getting fixed now. So NITA, the National Information Technology Agency, set up sort of data storage units, which is where governments would store things like your national ID and things like that. They are now doing a better job. Years ago, we would have public data that would sit, like you would work with an external company, and that data would be sitting on a cloud server in Germany or cloud server. No nation with we have proper cybersecurity laws. No nation that is serious about cybersecurity would allow that to happen. And I see actual change now where a lot of the things like there's a procurement system, right? So the national procurement system has now been brought into NITA. There are a couple of the systems that are being moved out to NITA. There has to be policy that punishes ministries and organizations within government that you use it, you do the procurement process. You get a software developer to come in and build a software, and where is it sitting? It's sitting on a cloud in Romania. No, it's not something that's going to happen. I think this policy we have, but this policy that must be enforced. It's a huge thing for us because now data is a national asset, and this is what people don't know. It's a national asset that we have. So if you're allowing other people access to it, you don't know we're sitting in Romania who's doing, but when they're sitting, at least when they're sitting in NITA and you know where it is, you can protect it. We have really good policies, Bernard. You know, as a country, we like writing policies.
So our problem is not the policy.
The problem is not the policy.
The problem is the implementation.
The problem is the implementation.
What about infrastructure?
Right. So let me add on to the data bit. There's also the other issue is the interconnectivity, the different silos. So
integration.
Yes, integration between the different silos. So, one ministry has its app and its data. One ministry
they have their own ID card. They have their own everything.
Right.
You need everything to go together.
I'm not going to be specific with names.
I get
but
your point.
Right?
Yes.
Now there has to be a way. There has to be policy. And I think there is. It might be in the works. I'm not sure about this. Where you coordinate also that all those different. Let me talk about APIs. All those different. They talk to each other. All our data, in a way, is centralized so that if you went to police and they needed to do a check on you, they should be able to figure out check out what you've done here.
My tax issue, my social security stuff,
GRA should
my
be talking
telco
to,
things.
Right,
yeah.
GRA should be talking to SNIT, should be talking to this, should be talking to this.
Yeah.
They can pull up that data and be able to say, okay, this person we can give them. If you go for a tax certificate, they should be able to tell from. I know people won't like it, but they're able to tell from your mobile money.
Hey, how much I'm actually spending.
Whether you're really being honest about it.
So even the tax conversation about not being able to tax people and the fact that informal economy cannot be taxed, right. The mobile technology solves that.
In a way, it solves that. But I will say that solving the tax problem is beyond.
Okay.
Because I told my nanny the other day that, I have to pay 10%. If 10% of your pay, she said, hey, madam, and the government, you know what I mean?
Yeah, when you are buying until they tell me.
Right.
In fact, some of them say pay them cash.
Pay them cash.
Because they want to avoid
the levy. They want to avoid it. So it will give government access to data to be able to tell what's happening in terms of money that's sitting outside of the banking systems that's sitting in mobile money. Now,
so let me not bring the three of you because you are sort of in the system. But so I'm going to push Ethel on this. Where we are in our cash light digital ecosystem, do you think the taxes came too early? Because there's a sense that if you make it easy for everybody to come in, right? If make everybody come in, because you say the economy is informal and people don't pay tax. Now, if all of us digitize everything we do, then to make it easy for you to say, okay, of the 18 million working Ghanaians, 16 million are on Momo, then you can estimate how much tax you want. But if you bring the tax when you have only half of those people, the other half is we're not going to come in anymore. Do you get it? And so what? And you see the target they set for the E-levy also didn't really work. So in retrospect, do you feel we missed the trick somewhere?
So if you look at other countries that have implemented a mobile money tax, very few of them have been successful at doing it. Zimbabwe is maybe one of those. It's documented. UNDP has done research, documented. The only country that's been quite successful with it has been Zimbabwe, but they have a lot of exceptions within that system. There'll be exceptions on HR. There's so many different things that they exempt from the system. Because you are right. What happens when we are trying to grow a nascent industry? We've seen it happen across. When you tax it, what happens is the volume of money in the system the pot of money begins to be smaller. And we saw that over a period of where we saw the mobile money digital economy begin to shrink, right? And so because people will now start taking their cash and say, look, I don't want to. So yes, I think that it's a slow process. The tax has to eventually be there, but it's a slow process in expanding the pots.
Then you can
ask people. You've got to, and also all these taxes inadvertently, because of financial inclusion, adversely affect the poorer. So what happens with you and me who have bank accounts is we'll find our workarounds. But the more people are below the poverty line, the more they will then, because what happens, you have mobile money, you can take a loan. Now, because I can't have mobile money because I'm being taxed, I
can't get that loan.
So
it affects the poor.
Them
so on the policy side, on the tax, somebody said they are in a digital technology firm and they are finding it challenging because people perceive cost of implementing tax solutions to be high.
Right.
What's your comment?
This is a problem. It's an age-old problem, right? It's a problem we had back when it was the price it is or what it is now. I think part of it is understanding which type of customer needs which type of technology, right? You're talking to a bank, what you're selling to them is very different from if you're talking to a, actually yesterday I went to buy weave. And the lady had a laptop set up, so 2 laptops set up, and they were, so when I went in, I said, oh, I'm looking for color 2, whatever, she just typed it in. I think it was the daughter, she just typed it in, and she said, oh, we have 3 left. And then they took it out, and then I paid by mobile. I even took a picture because I was
So when you mentioned the color, they had the code?
They already had the code, they searched in a database, they figured how much.
I'm sure they probably just scan it and say it costs 10 cedis.
And I paid by mobile, this is Medina Market. This is in the middle of the market.
By the way, was it for this show?
Yes, I did my hair for this